As you may have detected already, I hope that you have, today we're looking at how God is revealed in small things. This wonderful display on the table, thank you Barbara Everett, and the beautiful bonsai trees remind us of the wonder in small things. Small things, things we sometimes take for granted or easily overlook that seem not to matter much. I think about small things when I get frustrated with myself for not accomplishing all that I hope that I will. That seems an odd time, I know, so here's how my thinking goes. So, those I admire, those who develop exceptional skill or who take time for that extraordinary kindness, those who pay attention to detail, who express their passions and create beauty, who reflect so that they can tell stories with meaning and insight. What I realize when I think about small things is that those people have precisely the same number of minutes in every day that I have. And it's in those minutes, even seconds perhaps, that words and actions, that music and compassion come to life, take particular form in human lives. All holiness and hope, all grace and goodness that human beings express is lived in tiny moments. Even lifetimes of accomplishment are undertaken by a series of actions that are done, actually, in hours and days. Small things, tiny increments of time, brush strokes, individual words, thoughts. Our first lesson for today from the apocryphal book of the Gospel of the Wisdom of Solomon reminds us that we often entrust our lives to the smallest things. The example in this passage was the smallest piece of wood that makes a raft. And Jesus, we know, speaks of small things in a variety of ways in each of the synoptics. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from God. Even the hairs of your head are all counted. And the most familiar one, the realm of heaven, is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in a field. It is the smallest of all seeds. The obvious analogies and points are, of course, that God cares for the smallest sparrow and then surely cares for us. That, like that acorn thing, great things can grow from small beginnings. But perhaps a more subtle and important point is that actual inherent worth and meaning resides in small things just as they are, not only with the promise that they will grow. The scriptures, after all, speak repeatedly of the greater than relative value of small, seemingly insignificant things. Think about it. The widow's mite, the youngest son chosen to be king, David's prevailing in his encounter with Goliath, a cup of water given, God's still small voice. So what are we to make of these clear choices to reference little things in this way that reorders conventional wisdom that bigger is better? After all, size does matter in much of what we do. We upgrade, supersize, king and queen size many things in our life, and big churches even are viewed as monuments to successful leadership and maybe even divine favor. God is often predicted as omnipotent, hovering in heaven, interested in nations and galaxies, and constituted of power, immensity, and might. Even if we're not so orthodoxly theistic, we may first think of God in grandeur, in drama, in the vastness of oceans and skies, and growing out of that image, we may conclude that God calls a few really big, good people to do profound, world-transforming spiritual work, to save souls and lives, to write insightful volumes of books, to relieve hunger, and to accomplish world peace. But I wonder, if these are our images of God and how God works in the world, I wonder if we miss something essential about this love that sustains the universe. William Jennings Bryan, a name familiar to many of us in Tennessee, the early 20th century politician turned religious fundamentalist, was best known, of course, for his role in the trial of Tennessee schoolteacher John Thomas Scopes. You'll remember that Scopes had taught Darwin's theory of evolution to his students in defiance of a state law prohibiting it. The defense attorney, of course, was Clarence Darrow. Bryan won the case. But you may or may not know that he died only a couple of weeks after that. Darrow's tough cross-examination had humiliated Bryan and had dealt a hard blow to fundamentalism. In that play that I know many of you are familiar with, Inherit the Wind, which was based on the Scopes trial, a news reporter who has just heard of Bryan's death says to Clarence Darrow, "Why should we weep for him? He was a Bible-beating blowhard." But Darrow replies with compassion and says of Bryan, "A giant once lived in that body, but he got lost. Lost because he was looking for God too high up and too far away." Where else might we look for this one who has, by centuries of doctrine, been placed out there in the heavens, removed from the dailiness and immediacy and mundane stuff of life? The scriptures show us that in creation, in daily provision, and by consistent choice, God has regard for, is embodied in the small, ordinary, overlooked, seemingly insignificant, in bits of time and substance, in small needs and seemingly insignificant events. God is there, revealed and speaking. If we lose sight of this, if we lose sight of the little moments of revelation, of the small bits of creation, we, like William Jennings Bryan, risk unwittingly distorting God and missing God incarnate right in front of us and within us. This God of small things offers profound love and beauty, meaning and life in the tiny and mundane. Now, of course, I hope you know that I'm not talking about putting limits on our perceptions or our images of God. Neither am I suggesting that we keep ourselves small when bigness is what is needed. Rather, I'm calling us to the images that elevate the daily and mundane to the status of holy and holiness revealed. God revealed, God known and experienced in little things, small things as representative of the permeating care and creativity of God that flows through all, and as a model for how holistically we can find wondrous, significant revelation in the smallest moments and manifestations around us. Now, I venture to say that most of us don't make bread. How many of you bake bread? A few, that's good. And I know that Evelyn makes the amazing yeast waffles, so she sees that yeast work. But in this age of purchasing much of our bakery goods, I also venture to say that some of us have never seen yeast actually work. Just a pinch of it, of course, makes the bread rise, gives it texture and softness. But when we get right down to it, I think most of us do know the power of small things, of 2 seconds worth of comments from parents or teachers that can reverberate over decades. If we were fortunate, we were shaped by supportive comments, but the critical ones I've found are especially powerful. Jeffrey just can't sing. Or Robert has the looks, and Jill, well, she's smart. You always do that. Or maybe, I'm so proud of you. You do the kindest things. Or I couldn't ask for a more wonderful son. When I think of small things that have made a difference in my life, have made the small somehow sacred, 2 small incidents come to mind. The first happened when I was teaching at a Catholic school in Minnesota. One of the teachers that I deeply admired was in the hospital, and I went to visit her with a lot of nervousness and a small African violet. I sat and talked with Mary Frances for about an hour, and the next week I received a short note from her, one sentence that rocked my world. It said, "What a delight to meet Jesus again in you." These 9 words that took her seconds, literally seconds, to write, became a blessing that began to reshape my theology and that still bring life to me. The second incident happened when my 2 children were small and our family was preparing a move. I was finishing up my teaching year, saying goodbye to friends that I frankly didn't want to leave, and packing to move. A number of friends and neighbors, of course, generously said to call if I needed anything. But my friend Marianne simply came and knocked on my door, and when I opened it, she said, "Give me your dirty laundry." Now, it doesn't get much smaller or more mundane than that. But the friendship and empathy in that sentence taught me that small actions can embody great love. I'm sure you remember little actions or words that influenced your life. Perhaps others remember little things that you've said or done. What we do matters as well. A word, a look, positive or negative. We may not think that what we do or say impacts others, or we forget it sometimes. But I wonder if we did just a little something each day to offer grace or kindness to another, a word or letter of advocacy, a gift of encouragement, even a touch in a moment, small things, others would be lifted, and we, I believe, would be changed, because we would feel ourselves channel the love and grace of God in those moments. We've probably all read those words of Mother Teresa, "We can do no great things, only small things with great love." The realm of God is like a mustard seed. It will grow like a weed. Actually, it is a weed. And I find that part of the charm of the story, something to contemplate. Then there are times, I assume, when all of us feel small. We feel in sight of the world's great need, there just isn't much we could do, and any good we manage to do would be small in comparison. In these times, I need the God of small things. I hold fast to the one who assures us that we matter, and what we do and say matters. Our worries matter, our disturbing thoughts, our secret dreams, our insecurities, they matter. They're life, after all. Part of those moments, those seconds and days. Life is lived in those little holy increments that all of us possess. Small, important lives are how love is known, how God touches the world. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from God. Even the hairs of our head are counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than the sparrows. Judith Smith writes so beautifully, each day is a tapestry in which threads of broccoli, children, planting, building, and thinking interweave in intimate connection. We can become so focused on our own accomplishments that we will not even see the holy, sacred, healing grace of God that is present in every tiny thing. So, my friends, may we find, even better, may we watch for this one who is of and in small, momentary, fleeting, ordinary things. In a truth told, a hand touched in a moment of need or connection, in the exquisite detail of creation that surrounds us in a ladybug or a leaf, a moment of calm and inexplicable hope all around and within, in small details of each day. May God give us eyes to see, hearts to ponder, and courage to participate with our own small acts of kindness or peace or justice in the small things of God. May it be so. Amen.